Hi everyone, my name is Amanda here with Echo Consulting, and today I wanted to share a little bit about two features in Smartsheet that are seemingly similar, but they actually work in a little bit of a different way from each other, and they can both help you navigate your Smartsheet environment and have really quick access to items in Smartsheet that you need to work on again and again. So those two features are favorites and pins. And so both of these features are actually going to be accessed from the sidebar, at least in terms of getting to those features. So if we hover over this star icon here, we can see that we actually see a description that says favorites, but if we click on it, you'll see there's a list of items in Smartsheet that come up. These are all items that I have favorited in my own Smartsheet environment. And you can see there's kind of a host of things here. There's some sheets, there's a dashboard, there's a report, and then we've also got some folders in here as well. So that's where favorites live. And then if you hover over this clock icon, you'll see it says recents. So if you click that, you'll see up to 20 items here in the recently opened tab. Now, that's one of the first differences between favorites and pins is that pins live in recently opened, and therefore there's a limit on how many things you can pin at one time because this menu only shows 20 different items. The favorites, so far I have not seen a limit on how many things you can have favorited. However, it's a good rule of thumb that if you have a lot of things that you're trying to navigate, if we have too many of those, that can get a little bit tricky to find those items. And I think that's where pinning and favoriting together can really come in handy. So let's go over how to favorite something, and then we'll go over how to pin something, and we'll talk about how we can use those together. So I'm going to navigate here to something I've already favorited. It's my Echo Current User Dashboard. Here at Echo, we really like to use dashboards in Smartsheet to get visibility on projects, on statuses of those projects, on task management, and just having a sense of kind of the big picture. So you can see if you look at the top of this window here, it gives you the name of this dashboard. It shows you with this icon that it is a dashboard. And then it's got this star icon, and this star icon right now is kind of a bright orangey yellow. Now, if I click this star icon and I go back to my favorites side menu, you'll notice here that the Echo Current User Dashboard is no longer in my favorites. So that's how you unfavorite something, and that's also how you favorite something. You just click that star, and then there it is, right? So it's back in my favorites. So again, really easy to access. You're just looking for this star icon on any item that you have open in Smartsheet. And there seems to be no limit so far, at least on how many things you can favorite. So really good to know if you're going to be using something like a dashboard or something like we use a CRAID log system here at Echo, which is really great for well, a lot of things. So we talk about the CRAID log a lot, and I'll save that conversation for another day. But that's something that I use pretty much every day that I'm working on projects. So I know I want that to be a favorite of mine. Now let's go back to our recently opened tab here. And so when we want to pin something, it's actually kind of neat. You can pin something and favorite it. So pinning, again, there's a little icon that indicates that it is a pin. If you just click that, it moves to the top of your list here in recently opened. So what that means is, let's say over the course of the week, I open a bunch of other things. All of these recently opened items will start to move kind of further down this list as I open new things, but these pinned items stay at the top. So they're very easily accessible, which is really handy when you're trying to get back to the same item again and again. Now, a big difference about the pins versus the favorites, in addition to the limit of number, is that things like folders or workspaces do not show up in recently opened. So recently opened is really reserved for specific items like sheets and reports and dashboards. So I'm just going to show this one more time to make that really clear. I can favorite a folder or workspace, but I can't pin it. Even if I click one of these folders, I'm just going to click that really briefly here, and then I'm going to go back to my current dashboard. And so if it was a different sheet, it would show up in my recently opened, but it didn't because it was a folder or workspace. So in terms of managing your ability to access sheets and reports and dashboards, pinning is really nice. If you need to get back to workspaces or folders again and again, I would definitely recommend favoriting. Now, the other thing about this, because this has a 20 item limit in the recently opened and pinning, if you pin 20 things, then you won't be able to see any other recently opened items. So it's definitely a good practice here to kind of manage how many things you have pinned at one time. What I've found really helpful is that if I'm working on a project that has specific sheets and sheets and dashboards and reports, I'll pin those because I know I'm going to need to get to them a lot, but I also know that the project has an end date. And so I'll use pinning to sort of keep track of things in the short term. But if I need to keep track of things in the long term, if I need to keep track of folders or workspaces, I'll use favorites. Okay, so and one more time, you can favorite and pin the same thing, so it can actually be listed in both of those places. There we go. So I'll just show here one more time. We'll refavorite that. It was already showing up, but yeah, so that's still here in favorites, even though it's also a pinned item. Okay, so again, that is the difference between pinning and favoriting things in Smartsheet. Really good way to remember this is pinning is for sheets, reports, and dashboards, and it only allows you to pin up to 20 things. Favorites, you can favorite anything you want, and they will stay until you unfavorite them. Okay, hope that helps you manage your Smartsheet environment and hopefully have a more streamlined way of getting access to the things you need.